Action, action, action. Something that I have avoided for many, many years and many, many things. Because I was busy doing another activity called a simulation. I was running a simulation. You know what I was running a simulation of? Simulation of action. Right? I went, what if I did the things I knew I needed to do? That's the big question, isn't it? And so, as a result, started reading, started watching videos, started watching courses. A particular example of this that actually perfectly explains this one was when I was around 19. And I had we call approach anxiety, right? I was deathly terrified of going up to a random stranger that I didn't know. And obviously that included attractive women, and that was a problem for me. So I was about 18. I may have just turned 19, freshman year of college. I said, I'm gonna do something about this. It's time for change. And in that time for change, I stumbled upon this YouTube video of this guy's manifesto of whatever it was called at the time. I just remember manifesto was in it. It's like a manifesto. Ooh, I need to watch that. Right. And so in watching the manifesto, it was about an hour long. I remember it vividly. I was at my desk, dorm room, roommates gone. Friday night, I think it was, Saturday night, I was tired of just hanging to myself. It was time for me to live. It's time for me to live, not simulate. What if I did the things I really wanted to do? No more simulating. So I said, all right. And so I started watching the video, and then I watched the next video, and then I watched the next video, and then I watched the next video. And guess what? You know what changed for me? Nothing. And so for I'd give or take 1 to 2 years, I had a PhD on how to talk to women. I graduated from, I'm gonna keep it PG. I graduated from a very illustrious college on talking to women. But guess what? Nothing changed for 1 to 2 years. Why? Because I was busy simulating the action. I would see girl after girl and go, man, leave my dorm room. What if today, today's gonna be the day? And I'd go out there and clearly I need more knowledge. Clearly I need to watch another video. Clearly I needed a motivational video. That's what it was. No, I needed some Tony Robbins. No, what I needed was somebody to do it with me. And that's the only thing that got me to finally do it. Right, some accountability. I was like, you know what? All of us are scared to do it. Let's all gather together and hope peer pressure can get us on the way. And that's how it finally started the ball rolling. Right, and then over time, handled it myself. And that's a whole other business that I no longer focus on, but it is something that is still dear to my heart and relevant in my life. But for 1.5 years, nothing changed. And so what was interesting about that is that how could that be possible if I'm gathering all this information, right? And that's because I made the mistake of thinking that more knowledge meant progress. More knowledge meant I was making progress. So I kept feeling like, man, I'm learning. And I'm like, well, this is no different from school. You gather knowledge on something you don't experience in real life, and then you pass a test and you're rewarded. But I was finding this odd pattern where I'm studying the books. I got an A on the test, But where are the girls at? Where are they at? Don't they know I have a PhD? So clearly, women weren't into guys who know about how to talk to women. They were into guys who could actually talk to women. And so that was a problem for me. So that's why it's called the magic of action. Because an interesting principle that came about from a recent conversation is, I'm not sure what I'll call it yet, but I'll just explain it to you and then the answer will come in due time. Right? So that's a door right there. Right? I want you to imagine there's a hallway going down. And on each side there's a blue door. Right? And so you can just imagine door, 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 door. And you're right here getting ready to start. Right? Now what's interesting is this pathway right here is called something called life. Life path. You might have heard of it. This is your life path. And so what's interesting about this thing called a life path is that every once in a while you'll see a door, say your favorite color is green, a green door, and you're like, oh, that's odd. Why do I want to go through that particular door? Now this door can represent a job, this could represent a hobby, this could represent a love interest, a lover. This could represent a friendship. And so as you're walking down the pathway of life, for once in a while you run into that and then boom, I'm gonna open the door. Clearly, all these blue doors never really interest me. I've gone in a few and they're all right. Right? I've gone in a few blue rooms. But you saw a green room, you're like, that must be for me. And then something interesting happens. You failed. It didn't go the way you expected. Right? You went to talk to the girl and she rejected you. You went to apply from the job and you got rejected. You went to try the new hobby and you sucked. You went to try to make the friend and they didn't text you back. So you're like, hold up. You carry the one but the door was green. I know that was for me. Right? I know that was for me. And so you're like, okay, I'm gonna keep going down the path and this blue doors. It's like, cool, cool, cool. I've seen inside the blue rooms. See another green door. Try it again. What's interesting is you fail again. Try, you get some progress, but ultimately you didn't get the thing you wanted. Try another green door. And so after a while, like, hold on. I'm tired of being disappointed. I'm tired of getting my hopes up as I'm walking this pathway of life, just looking for my perfect room. The perfect room where life is exactly the way I want it. And I know it's in one of these doors, right? I know it's in one of these doors, but I don't know exactly which one. However, if the door is green, one would assume that's the door for me, right? And so over time, green door after green door, it says, you know what? Forget these doors. I'm tired of being disappointed. And I'm not going in a single other door. Matter of fact, let's clean this up. I'm not going in a single other door until I'm certain I won't be disappointed. Does that sound familiar? I will not go through a single other door until I am certain I will not be disappointed and fail. And so now the entire picture has changed. It went from one of an explorer on a path to one who becomes a simulator of the path. So this is a room, right? And that's the door that represents all the doors we mentioned. And so now it's like, I am not leaving my room until I am certain that if I go through this door, I will succeed. And so now time's ticking, right? Could say, we'll do it this way. We'll do time elapsed. So, got disappointed, tired of these green doors letting me down. So, it's like, okay, well, maybe I'm just picking the wrong doors, right? Maybe it's just I'm picking the wrong doors. So, what I'm going to do instead of that is I'm going to simulate what I think will happen if I go through that door. Now, mind you, each door is unique, each room is unique. So even though there was a blue door on each, a green door on each behind the scenes, each room is its own unique experience with its own unique lesson. And the objective of each door was to prepare him for the door that he actually was supposed to go through, which funnily enough wasn't green, it was pink. But there were certain lessons that the green doors were there to prepare them for, so that they can eventually go, you know what, maybe I should try a different kind of door. And it's like, I've never tried a pink door before. And then, boom, enters the pink door, and all of the things that come within the pink room were only possible because of the green doors that he went through before. Right? But he perceived the green doors as an obstacle. Disappointment. And so it goes, you know what? I am not leaving this room. Right? And so when he runs the simulations, he only has the past to simulate of. Right? Imagine. And so what he sees is a big, bad disappointment wolf behind that. And so it's go, I'm not going. And so time passes, it's 1 year. And then 2 years. And then 3 years. Still calculating. Still calculating. Still simulating. What if I did the thing I know I needed to do? Which is stay on the path. What if I did it? And so he simulates. What if I took the what if I 3 years stuck in that room? And so now, unfortunately, our friend has found himself stuck in the simulation. Not knowing that on the other side of that door is a reality he could never have imagined. Right? With everything he dreamed of. Right? And let these represent positive things. Right? All the things that he was dreaming of was on the other side of the door. However, rather than perceiving each door as a lesson, he perceived each room as a loss. And so it's like, okay, if I keep losing it, that instead of saying I kept learning, then I clearly need to stop opening doors and just stay in my room. And this, my friends, is the simulation of action. Because now, you think he's in there just chilling? Oh, no, he's preparing. Got a book over here. 17th book on how to pick the right door. 17th book on how to pick the right door. But how can he ever know for sure without opening it? And that's the dilemma in life, right? There are all these doors that are available to us, and we never really know which one is going to be the one we open that opens the gateway to our desired reality. And it can be scary because it's like, well, what if it's another disappointment? What if it's another disappointment? And I know within the relational scene, this is a big issue, right? Men are frustrated women, women are frustrated men. I'm tired of opening the door that disappoints. I'm tired of opening a disappointing door. However, what I'd invite everybody to consider is that, was the room different, or were you not ready to be in it? Was the room different? Was the room really not for you? Or were you not ready to be in the room at the time? And so if you weren't ready to be in the room at the time, then it did you justice, because now you get the opportunity of simulating based on the past experiences so you can make a different choice in the future. But not a different choice in like, well, I was perfect for the room, but I was unfairly kicked out. But really going in there knowing that you can't get kicked out of a room that's yours. You can't get kicked out of a room you belong in. It's impossible. So if that's the case, then it's really learning how to navigate and master the magic of navigation and action, rather than going, well, this room's just not for me. And what that does is it puts you in a state of reflection and adaptation rather than a state of analysis and paralysis. Because now it's a preparation for whether or not the next door will be safe, rather than knowing you'll always be okay because you've practiced. You've mastered the challenges of the last room that you failed in. So rather than going to the green door going, oh no, this is going to take me out again, it's going, well, I remember everything from the last green room. I went in the lab, I went in the gym, I went into whatever, and I faced it, I mastered it, and now I'm ready to open that next door boldly and confidently. And that's how I got out of my simulation, at least with women, right? I realized it wasn't about knowing everything I needed to know, knowledge, before I rode the bike. I had to get on the bike and then reflect on the knowledge. Because I could never read myself into charisma. I could never read myself into riding a bike. And so what I offer to whoever is stuck in their room right now, figuratively or literally, wondering if they should go through the door, well, one thing that will never change is you finding out what could have been if you stay in the room. It will never change. Never, ever, ever. There's nothing he can ever find in this room that will let him know what's on the other side. And so he will forever be stuck in the simulation. Then be 68 years old and wonder where the time went. That's the real simulation. That's the real matrix. This right here. I can't act before I get an accurate simulation that it will work out for me. And I can relate. So hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. And this was helpful. If it was helpful, hit the like button. Share with somebody if somebody you can relate, or somebody you know can relate to this message. And I'll see you in the next one.